Where have I been? I don't remember the last video I've made of this truck. Crazy, that's ridiculous, but it's getting done. And guys, let me show you a few things I've done, tell you about what we're gonna do to it real soon. Tetanus is getting some real work done. And hey, it's almost gonna look like a truck again, like a whole truck, not one with rust holes you could throw a cat through. Kind of excited about it. Why would I dare try to build this truck by hand? Let's do a walk around, show you what's happened so far and what's to come. Let's go to the shop. All right, guys, tetanus is still going on. I'm going to have to do some things on the passenger side I didn't have to do over here. So when we get over there, it'll be a little more inclusive of a video to see all the stuff, to see all the support in behind it that'll have to be replaced. I mean, the lower support, the cab, I'm going to have to refabricate that and cut it all off and weld it in and make sure everything's kind of the way it should. Luckily, I do have this driver's side to kind of mirror, so that's exactly what I'll do. But what I've done so far, and you may have seen this, is I've fabricated a new cowl. Now, if you buy these patch panels, where they end at is right here. And on these trucks, this is kind of an ugly joint anyway. These things have a weld line right here. All right, the top comes in and it's actually offset down, so you can have room for your filler, and then the bottom is even further down. What I've done is I've cut right over top that, all right? So there's a line, and let me see. You might be able to see up in here. You can see there's a line right here. This, it actually sets about so whenever I finish, I still got to form this up here, but when it sets down, it should be about flush with this piece. So I'll be able to just go right over top of that and make this a nice, solid, straight line rather than have a big Bondo or lead, which is what it was in it. You can see all the lead I melted out, all the lead out of it. Kind of cuts the reason for Bondo. Most of this will be weld and just ground off, and maybe just a little bit of filler to kind of smooth it out. Again, there's some work that has to be done to this top, but you can see where I'm going with it. There is a big screw up right there, and I'll have to address that. This will actually come out a little bit. It's not sitting where it needs to, but that'll be a pretty significant crack. But I can put a piece of sheet metal underneath that, weld to it, put it on top of that one, weld that to it. It'll be fine. I won't have an issue at all. Strength will be there, and the looks will still work. Of course, the next issue I'm going to have right here is put these doors on, and I cut this out. I made this based on when the door was already on it. Took the door off and kind of tried to fine tune it. Might not be the best thing to do. Matter of fact, I think I'm better off to fix the door 100%, put it back on the cab, align it the best I can, then make the cowl. So that's something I kind of learned while I was doing the other side. You guys will probably, if you ever get into this, I mean, these cabs are pretty loosely built anyway. They're not a tight tolerance. It's not like today's cars where, if it's a 1/4 inch or if it's a 16th out, it's probably a bad door and I'll throw it away. Or the gap's wrong and you've got a whole new deal. But what I did is I took this drip edge out. If you'll see this, when I line everything up here, this door, it lines up here, still dips in. And same thing, I've got it dipping out here. So the bottom hinge, I will have to modify more. Again, these hinges are extremely tight. There's not a whole lot of adjustment in them. So some of this stuff may mean I need to bend the hinge a little bit, or I may need to kind of hog that hinge out. What I've done so far is I've hogged these out, trying to get them as close as I can. Those of you who understand how these work, let's see, I've got an old one here. Let me just show you. The way these hinges are, if you'll look at it, this on the outside is basically just sheet metal, all right? When you look underneath, you can see where it is. So when I start hogging this out to get me more room, well, you can kind of see it doesn't have a whole lot. And whenever I get this way, side to side. Well, next thing you know, this thing's got a 3/8 bolt and it's just barely catching one side. My plan for that is I'm going to get rid of the cover on the outside of this, and I'm going to recut a piece from my table over here. We'll draw it out in CAD and cut it, but I'll just put 3/8 bolts right there, and then I can open this up pretty wide. It allows me to move the hinge around, and then I'll just sandwich my hinge to the cab. So I'll have a nice firm mount, and it gives me a lot more adjustment. If that made any sense to anything when I do it, I think it'll make a little more. Probably too dark to see in here. I'll fix that. So what I've got, you can see where I have hogged these out pretty heavily. These only had a star washer on them to begin with. And then down here at the bottom, if you can see that it's pushed all the way in. It's already against that. The trim, the beauty ring is all the way up against this. These are, well, there's a little room to push in, so I have to get rid of the beauty ring to get these hinges to move around where I need them. That then gets this door, or hopefully the bottom will set flush the way it's supposed to. A whole lot of me thinking about the things that I'm trying to do keeps me from being able to film this and give you guys a good explanation. My mind's going in many different ways, and you can probably tell that right now. You hear the wind outside. This is, I love working on this whole stuff, but I really need to get the bottom half. If I can get the entire bottom of the cab, if the cab is good from here down, we can put it on the frame. And then I can start working on things like, replacing these sections, replacing this inner brace, we're doing this upper cowl, replacing this B pillar or this A pillar cover right here. All this lead, get all this out of it. These are trucks were put together well, and this thing's been around for, since 1947, 1950, whatever it is. And even with all this rust, it's still standing. Surprisingly, much better shape than I originally thought the thing was. It looked, to the most part, and I think everybody who's seen it felt like, man, this truck was just absolute rust. But it's really not as bad as it seemed. A lot of little patches, a lot of shit I'm doing to it, but we'll get it there. And I'm doing it all with flat sheet metal. I'm not buying, to build this truck and to do it with patch panels. Do it when I wanted to do this with patch panels that I'd have to buy. This truck would probably cost me, the cab would be at least $3,000 to $4,000. That's kind of the real truth about it. Patching the stuff up, building it, it makes it a little different. Plus, it's at the end of it, I've learned something. That's something that's pretty invaluable. Is the knowledge you're going to take from doing a project like this. Most people would look at me and would think I am absolutely crazy to even consider this, but man, I have learned a ton, and it's really, really cool to watch the sheet metal do things that you want it to do. Now, I've bought a couple of expensive toys and tools to do, and I've built a few, but no, honestly, it's not much. I mean, those stuff I bought's pretty cheap. I got $300 in an English wheel. I got less than $300 in a little bitty brake over there, a little 36-inch brake, which most of the stuff I need to make is fine there. I got $1,300 for a good 36-inch bead roller. I've built a stump table, got a fab table. I've got a little brake, and the coup de grace, of course, is I do have my plasma, but I'm not using a lot of that for this. I have used it for a few other items. So before I sound too crazy and continue to ramble for days, I want to think about, what all have I done and how extensively I really have. I mean, this door, I don't know if any of you remember it, but I could put my hand underneath it because it was completely rusted out. And now that door is mostly solid. It's got a few little things left, but it's all there. It's all shaped the way it should be. Seems to be lining up. I'm excited about it. Windshield frame, I've got no hesitation now. It's one I was worried to death about, that windshield frame, trying to get it straight, but now that I see how it's made, and that won't be a problem at all. That'll be simple. That'll be one of the easier things that I've done, actually. So wish me luck. Hopefully in the next couple weeks we'll be able to set this cab onto this frame and start having a truck again. I mean, we do have a 6-liter sitting in there. That part's pretty cool, right? Thanks for watching, guys. Hang in there with me. We'll get this thing knocked out soon.